Well, good morning, everybody. It's about noon, the 27th of October, 2023, and again, I'm at Kolmena Gorka. That's the name of the metro stop here in Minsk. It's at the end of the line, of the red line, by the way, and I'll tell you a little bit about this place. It's kind of like a settlement sort of area in a way, and a lot of people moved out here. Huge amount of traffic, and I think that's what they're kind of trying to do again with Minsk World, because of all the people that are moving to Minsk, because I don't know, provinces. I think what they need to do is a little bit more of like a Donald Trump sort of a economic zones sort of deal to get people to stay into the countryside, or maybe to move out there, and you can have a lot of factories being built out there instead of everybody coming to Minsk, because that's where all the business is at. I believe Lukashenko doesn't really like so many people coming to Minsk. It's like the 9th or the 10th largest city in Europe. So there's only one city in Germany that's bigger than Minsk, which is Berlin, and all the other ones are smaller that you've ever heard of. You heard of Dusseldorf and Cologne and Munich and Hamburg, but they're all smaller than Minsk. Strange you never heard of Minsk. Well, it's because they don't want you to know about this place over here. Everybody's heard of Moscow, but because that's the evil empire. Okay, as far as the news is concerned, I'll tell you what, a lot of buildup from Western countries, especially, of course, the United States, sending weapons and troops into the area down there by Gaza. Got to get across here. Lots of action. I should go somewhere in the parking lot where there's less cars. I'm by the building center, by the way, Matorik, which is across from, I don't know if you can see, it's a foggy day. I'll show you again. That's that same shopping mall over there. And you cannot see the hotel where Prigozhin stayed in because it's foggy. Can't see much of anything. Okay. But the news, let's get into that, okay? Hamas has claimed that 50 of the hostages have been claimed. I'm not sure anymore how many they claim to have. I think it was around 200, but 50 of them or so have been killed by the shellings of Israel throughout Gaza. And what I didn't write in my notes, I can say it right now. A lot of things I don't write down, but some sort of a thing that I've noticed. You hear about Iran and even Turkey. A lot of countries are, let's just say, talking tough, about if Israel continues doing what they're doing by slaughtering all of these innocent people in Gaza, that they have no choice but to get involved. Well, Israel keeps on doing it, and they haven't gotten involved. Oh, looks probably some young guy showing how much power his car has over there. I don't know if you heard that through here. No, but they're talking a lot of power in the Middle East, but they're not doing anything. And I'm not saying that I think they should, but I guess I wouldn't be talking like that if I wasn't able to back it up. Of course, the USA is talking tough too. Israel's talking tough. Everybody is, like a cat just before a fight, they puff their fur up. Look how tough I am. You better not mess with me. So that's what everybody's doing right now, except for, of course, Russia. Russia's never really does that. They never talk tough. Isn't that incredible? They're probably the toughest on the planet, but they don't ever talk tough. I guess they don't need to. The United States, I don't know. I'm starting to think now that the people that talk tough are the ones that they don't have the toughness to back it up. Maybe that's why they talk tough, because they don't want anybody to find out that they're not so tough after all. So they think they're going to scare everybody. This just a theory. Just a theory. Okay. And contrary to what, like, the press and the U.S. government, and maybe even to a small extent Israel's, to a small extent, contrary to what they're saying, I don't think they really care about how many people they kill. I mean, innocent civilians. And there's a lot of evidence towards that. I'll get into that too very soon, right now, as a matter of fact. First, let me say about these hostages that got killed. Israel, of course, is going to be using that to their advantage, as they do everything. Somehow they'll turn it around and make it look like it's Hamas's fault. I don't know. While they're doing all the things that they're doing, seeing all the children getting killed. Really horrific, like I was saying. A lot of people are talking about that now. I know. No, I'll get into that a little bit more later too. But the former Israeli ambassador to the United Nations, Dan Gillerman, he says he's puzzled. He's puzzled at how the world can be concerned about the collective punishment that Israel is meting out against the Palestinians. He says these terrible, inhuman animals who committed the worst atrocities this century has ever seen. You know, it's like I'm thinking the guy is mixed up a little bit. I think he's talking about Israel. You have to see the horrific film footage of what's happened to children. And then they're saying how horrific Hamas is. And Erdogan has come out and said that Hamas is not a terrorist organization. I don't know, something like they're freedom fighters or whatever like that. And whatever happened on the 7th of October that kind of kicked this whole thing off, I'm not really sure. I haven't heard so much of anything from Hamas. So, and the story is, I don't know, that Hamas had gone into Israel and killed a bunch of people that were having some kind of a concert. Well, I don't even know how Hamas got into Israel. I thought everything was blocked off in Gaza. So it's kind of strange. I wonder what kind of information is going to be coming out in the future about that. And then you hear about the hostages and the people getting afraid because of what they're told, you know, these hostages. And these Hamas militants, terrorists, say, don't worry, we won't hurt you. We're Muslims and we don't hurt innocent people. So, you know, there's no rapes. Everybody's been given food. They've been calmed down. Those that are elderly, they've been letting them go. Hostages, health problems, things like that. It's not the same on the other side, though. Especially when you look at, say, not just Israel, but Ukraine. How do they treat hostages? Israel, I mean, let me think. Not Israel. Russia. It's much different from Israel. Russia, they were commenting on, at least towards the beginning, and it might even be similar now, that when the Ukrainians had hostages and they did hostage exchanges, the Ukrainian hostages, meaning that those that were Ukrainian and hostages of the Russians, when they released them, they were all in perfect health. But the Russians, the ones that the Ukrainians had broken bones, and a lot of them were in really poor health and in dire need of immediate medical attention, since they were under the control of Ukraine. But it's kind of obvious that some of the worst atrocities we've seen so far in this young century, it's actually been committed by Israel and not by Hamas. Some of this collective punishment of bombings of apartment buildings, knowing that there is children in there. What is it? How many thousands of children have been killed already? And I think, I don't know what the death toll is of Palestinians and all. It's quite a bit over 7,000 already. And just like 12 hours ago, no, not 12 hours, one day ago, it was 6,000. So it's like 1,000 a day of civilians. We're just talking about civilians. And I believe that's mostly only in Gaza. I don't know about the West Bank. Things aren't going so well in the West Bank for Palestinians either. But as far as who's committing the worst atrocities, I don't know. Is it the Ukrainians or is it the Israelis? It's kind of a contest. I guess Israel is catching up very, very quickly, because this has been happening over a course of years with the Ukrainians, but there's so many civilians massacred by Israel just in the past 2 weeks. And what was it, 8 years of Ukrainian bombardment of the Donbass, bombarding the civilians. I think they killed 14,000, but that took 8 years to do that. And what is it? They're halfway there already, just in about 3 weeks. The Israelis are killing, that's how many Palestinians they've killed in just 3 weeks. So I guess give Israel another month and they're going to surpass the mass killings of what the Ukrainians did to the people in Donbass. I wonder if I'll be banned for saying this kind of stuff from YouTube. But this ambassador, the former ambassador, he didn't seem to have any concern whatsoever for the Palestinians. But there's also another person, this guy named Biden, Joe Biden. He showed his true feelings by saying that this, well, at that time it was 6,000 Palestinians that have died thus far. It's their own fault. He said it's their own fault, the civilians. You know, the children's, the babies, the little babies that don't even know how to speak yet, that's their own fault for getting killed. That's their fault for being born in the wrong country. Oh, wait a minute. But he didn't say that. He said it's their own fault for waging war against the U.S. Oh, no, wait a minute, not the U.S. We're waging it against Israel. But anyway, we know the real truth. Unfortunately, they were born in the wrong place, the wrong time. Well, what is the wrong time? The last 50 years? And they're not even fighting against the U.S. It's the Hamas. But I guess they deserve to die too. So none of whatever Joe Biden said has any truth in it. The guy's just I don't know. If I called him a cold-blooded killer, no, wait. He said Putin is a cold-blooded killer. But who is the real cold-blooded killer? Does Putin target civilians? Kirby said that. I guess he said that just yesterday. He said that Russia is killing civilians purposefully. My God, the lies, it's just incredible. I should have written notes about that. I just saw that. I should have written notes about when he said that and where he said it. It was just yesterday, Kirby. Filling everybody with all kinds of crap. Makes you wonder how many people believe this stuff. And I think that's one reason why everybody's turning against the United States as well as turning against the media. They find out that this stuff is just a bunch of lies. So how do you trust somebody that has been lying to you already and it's verified that they're lying to you? The next time, are you going to turn around and trust them? What did old George Bush say? If you fool me once, well, I don't know. I don't know what he said, but he didn't get it right. Fool me once, shame on you, and fool me twice, shame on me. But he didn't say that. I guess he can't keep that in his head. He's never heard that. Maybe somebody told that. He wasn't raised with that sort of wisdom, I suppose. Their price for waging war. I think that was the words, actually. Their price for waging war. That was the words that old Joe Biden said. What an idiot. Anyway, he doesn't seem to know anything about what's going on there. Doesn't know anything about the history of the region. And he's been coming out with nothing but lies. Remember when he said that Hamas is the ones that bombed that hospital? Now it's known. I mean, can you imagine some guy who's supposed to at least have access to information that could make him be the most informed human being on earth, and yet he has most everything wrong? I thought it was bad with Trump because Trump was getting some things wrong. And I thought they're doing it purposely. I don't know. Obviously, these guys are just fed a bunch of lies so that they can justify all of the crimes that they are committing, actually. The big guy. Yeah. Because the big guy needs to get his 10%. It's all about money anyway. He doesn't know anything about it. The big guy is too busy thinking about his cut of the action, his 10%. 10% for the big guy. I bet he does get a good set of money from that too, huh? Sell those weapons, babies. Most of those guys, senators, a lot of them in Congress, they're all involved in the weapons trade anyway. They're all invested in these companies. Even General Electric and Boeing. as you know. They're in the weapons business as well. Viktor Orban, the leader of Hungary, he told the Western reporters that were asking him, was that just yesterday? Yes, yesterday. That the collective West, he's, because I think they were on his case about him not approving some sort of a spending bill for Ukraine or whatever. And he said, you, meaning the collective West, not the reporters, of course, you have a war strategy and we have a peace strategy. It's sort of like Russia wanting that ceasefire with nothing political attached to it in the USA. The USA turned it down and said, well, it would benefit Hamas. Russia made sure that there was nothing political in that, just a ceasefire. And maybe the USA is saying, it's a trick. But instead, the U.S. is using this. It's not even a ceasefire. They're continually bombing because they hold the upper hand, as you know, Israel, and they can just bomb indiscriminately whenever they want and wherever they want. And of course, they're going to get the cover for it. And they can slow it down. They can speed it up. They can do anything they want. And of course, that's what they're doing. And in the meantime, the U.S. and the West is sending so many weapons and so many soldiers, you can't even believe it. And I'll talk a little bit more about that in a second here. So I wrote that a little bit later in the notes. I hope I don't forget. Yes. Anyway, but Orban, I guess it's mostly he's trying to, and actually being successful at blocking that money going to Kiev. He says they have to tell him exactly what that money is going to be used for before he puts his stamp of approval on there. And the U.S., in the meantime, at least when I was writing this part, the $60 billion for Ukraine was still up in the air. This bill that they're trying to get passed was like $14 billion for Israel. They're already sending a lot to Israel. It's not included in that $14 billion, by the way. And this $60 billion for Ukraine. But as that was getting debated, even though it looks like it might be stopped, it's still getting debated, by the way. But the U.S. is also sending an additional $150 million. Remember when they were getting like $250 million every couple of weeks? And then just, what was it, the last allowance for Zelensky was $200 million, so they cut off $50 million, and now it's only $150 million. So obviously, the amount is getting less and less as time goes by. And Denmark is now going to send $500 million worth of hardware and ammunition. No brass, no ammo, Sergeant, no brass, no ammo. We used to have to say that in the Army, after you're leaving the shooting range, with your M16, and everybody's supposed to call out when a sergeant comes by. No brass, no ammo, Sergeant. And there's always somebody screwing the words around a little bit. And of course, now it's probably what they say, no ass, no bramo, no ass, no bravo. I guess because of the woke army they have nowadays. That used to be the mistake. Some people said that by accident, and then you get criticized or whatever. That was in basic training. You don't do that, I think, in regular duty station, but in basic training you have to say that because they knew that somebody was going to screw it up and say no ass, no bramo instead of no brass, no ammo. Anyway, I just thought I'd throw that in there just for fun. Biden, he's saying that this military aid for Ukraine is good. It's good for American jobs. It's good for America. As you see, they talk tough about morality and saving these people and saving this and preserving this, and it's very obvious it all comes down to money anyway. And he doesn't really care about any jobs for America anyway. He cares for the money for the big guys, the 10% for the big guys, as you know. So this is kind of interesting. Walking through here, I'll show you. I don't know when they developed this area, but look at this place here they left. Really nice. I should take a walk up here. Let me walk through here. It's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful with the fog and the fall colors. I would have been better maybe a week ago, well, 2 weeks ago, when there are more leaves on the tree. I'll let you look at this. Better than looking at my face, right? So anyway, he says that these American jobs for making weapons is good is good for economic growth in the United States. Well, it makes you wonder. So if they're going to be hiring people for these jobs, I guess they're planning on doing this for quite a long period of time. This is not just for 1 month. Looks like it's for a long time. And there's a lot of indication that that's exactly true. Former United States Defense Department Security Advisor Michael Maloof said that Netanyahu, not Netanyahu, did I say Netanyahu? But Netanyahu, he may want to make this a forever war. Well, gee, that just fits right in with what Joe Biden said about creating these jobs in order. But anyway, not Netanyahu's reason is to stay in power. And also Maloof, like I said, he was in a position. What was his job? He was the former U.S. Defense Department Security Advisor. And what he said is that Netanyahu knew ahead of time. He knew ahead of time about this Hamas attack. There's other information about that too that's very fishy. So it's very fishy stuff. And that who knows? It's I don't know. Something might be coming out at some time in the future. But of course it'll be on page 30 long after this is all over. And we're going to find out a lot different news, I'm fearing, about what is happening as far as that attack on the 7th of October. So, well, you can look at this area too. Nice and peaceful out here. Egypt had suffered a second attack now. You know, they had some sort of an attack. It looked almost like a mistake. Was it a couple of days ago? And now they got another attack. And a missile landed in this town called Taba. And just lo and behold, it was a medical facility. Isn't that incredible? And I think it was mostly in the area where they have a lot of ambulances. So apparently they probably destroyed some ambulances. And there's one person in semi-critical condition, and let's see how many were, if I wrote it down here, but quite a few were lightly injured. And I'm just presuming that maybe these are ambulance drivers. And of course, the deal is this is quite a ways away from the Gaza Strip. So there's no way that some missile misfired or anything like that. So, in Egypt, they said, where is that? That Egypt is now investigating and where the missile came from and reserves the right to respond at an appropriate time to this, whatever happened. And I'll tell you, how many times does Russia ever accidentally fire some missiles somewhere? What about any other place in a time of peace, supposedly? And that's in that area. There's no war going on. So how did that happen all of a sudden? Isn't that strange? That's the complete opposite side of Israel from where Gaza is at, and it's about as far away from the West Bank as you can get as well. And it's on the border, like I said, right on the very tip of Egypt. And right nearby there's a lot of resorts, Israeli resorts, you know, party areas. So, and not to be outdone, the U.S. has launched strikes on targets in Syria, saying that they're the military areas connected to Iran, that the U.S. says were linked to these weak attacks on the bases that the U.S. has to occupy Iraq and Syria. Yeah, there was some attacks on some base, American base in Iraq. Of course, these are occupied countries. The United States is occupying illegal occupations of these countries. But you know, it's okay. It's okay. They talk about Russia being temporarily in Ukraine and being so bad and illegal, but yet the United States and Israel they can occupy anywhere they want to. But they're the good guys. Yeah, so the U.S., I don't know, are they going to attack Iraq as well? Well, anyway, they attack Syria. Syria seems to be always getting attacked and nothing ever happens. They don't even threaten A White House official has asked how it is possible, or a reporter, I think. No, a White House official was asked by a reporter that how is it possible that the United States can immediately say they can determine that Moscow was targeting civilians, but they're unable to determine if Israel is actually purposefully attacking civilians. Not to mention the fact that, as everybody knows, that Russia does not purposefully target civilians. What about Israel? Like I said, how many children have died? How many people have civilians have died in just a couple of weeks with the attacks on Israel? It's just, and it was like 14,000. I already mentioned this. But of course, the U.S. doesn't mention this stuff. They just act like nothing ever happened. And so, if you are an enemy of the agenda, you're the bad guy, and that's, everything you do is on purpose. Even if you didn't do it, they just make it up. They make up fake news and say, Russia did this. I don't know, you guys know that stuff. I shouldn't even talk like that, it just pisses me off. And what I was saying now, there's this big buildup going on over there in Israel, and Israel has put out these videotapes of U.S. soldiers debarking from an airplane in Israel. And they said, that of course it's Air Force, and they said it's Marines, but strange that Marines, why would a Marines be wearing 101st Airborne, U.S. Army 101st Airborne patches? That doesn't make sense. And I'm thinking, isn't it the 101st? A lot of them are based in Romania. I wonder if they came from Romania, because that's part of the force that the United States put to check Russia, supposedly. I think maybe it's supposed to be in case Russia has any desire to go to Transnistria or who knows what. They already have soldiers in Transnistria. There's a base of their Russian people guarding the old ammunition places. So let me show. This is pretty huge. Look at this apartment building. Very quiet and calm. This is nice. I guess the fog kind of does that. And what else? Ukraine, this is really something. Ukraine, it's a lot of stuff to do with children again, which I don't like to talk about, but and it doesn't mention anything gory or nothing, so don't get too flinchy on this one yet. But Ukraine is evacuating areas in Kharkov region, but only the children. First, in the headlines they say they're evacuating people, but when you look into it, adults are not allowed to leave, only the children. And that should make you wonder right there. Not even the mothers are able to go. They separate these children from their families. And after some of the things I've already said in some of my videos, you can imagine what that's all about. When we're talking about child trafficking, and the reason why Alexander Lukashenko, the leader of this country, and Vladimir Putin removed a lot of these children from these orphanages and places like that and brought them into safe places, is because of what is going on against children in Ukraine, blatantly. And again, I hate to tell you this, but they make a lot of money from various things, and there's a lot of other people that are putting things out about what's happening to the children, and it's more sick than you can imagine, and I won't even get into that. Very, very, very sick stuff. But anyway, yeah, mom and dad will have to stay to fight the Russians when they come. And so far, in this instance, it was 275 children that they want to take out, separate from their parents, and then send supposedly to some safe place. They didn't even say that. They have also in Ukraine, what I think it was on Redacted, Clayton Morris was talking about that they have these places and they're kind of underground, and they take these young women and they use them for breeding, and they're like baby factories. They're just making children, and they don't get the children afterwards. It's not like they take care of the children, it's their child. The children are separated and sent somewhere else. And you don't even want to look into what happens to these little babies. And anybody in Kharkov that is not going to give up their children right now, they lose their parental rights, and the children are taken from them forcibly anyway. And earlier in the Kharkov area, the government took away 523 children. And also from what the Ukraine occupied areas of Donetsk and Zaporozhia, even if it was temporarily occupied, the Ukrainians immediately took the children. The ministry is called the Ministry of Reintegration, has already removed 856 children from those areas. Terrible. And of course, Lukashenko and Putin have already been coming out, and Peskov and Maria Zakharova have been talking about this stuff, about what's going on with children in Ukraine. And look at what they're doing with children in Israel now. Just, a little bit different, but not so nice either. My nose is running, I think. Excuse me. Putin announced that the goal of the West is to create a global instability, a real wave of chaos and mutual hatred. Not just in the Middle East, he said. They do this by playing on people's national and religious feelings, just like they did in Ukraine. The nationalism, the Banderites. And like they do in Israel, in a lot of places, also in Ukraine. They use religion. And how do they do that in Belarus? It's also political. It's not really nationalistic, and it's not really religious-wise, but they do that. They do that here. They have their own ways to doing that in Belarus. And Poland had said they're very successful. And I guess it's mostly coming out of Poland, because they said they're very successful with their PSYOPs operations here in Belarus by getting people to turn against the government. And of course, that's one thing that I'd want to try to slow down or stop while I'm over here. And I hope that I can do that. And the man that is going to be helping me, the guy from Australia, and that's one of my main objectives here. I hate seeing people get, I was fooled. If you grow up in the United States and you wake up at some point in time, you realize that we are not really the good guys. We're not the guys that are going around saving the world for these great reasons of love and peace and all that. If you're just a regular old person, you're not some kind of a big business leader. You're just a useful tool, and you're used, for the big businesses and the government and the big guy to get his 10%, as it is. Yeah, and you're just a tool. You're just a tool for them getting richer, getting more powerful, anything like that. So, sickening kind of stuff. Try to get a little bit closer to this church over here. So, like I said, it's where was I? I don't even know what I said. It's Putin. They're playing on their religious feelings and nationalism. Things like that. It's like, yes, we were the master race. Putin said it's been in place for a long time. He's mostly talking about Ukraine, I believe. And of course, what he means is, this Banderite stuff. And I think I don't know if he's talking about Israel so much, but it's certainly true in Ukraine. And he said the purpose of these actions is clear: to multiply instability in the world. And I can add an old puppet Biden, you know. He believes in the Nietzsche, what is it, out of chaos comes order. And you heard old Joey Biden. He just said, what was it, yesterday or the day before? He's talking about the old world order has run out of steam, and he's trying to start a new world order now. New world order. Dmitry Medvedev, he said that Russia is now again going to expand the size of their military, but there's so many people that are volunteering, and I don't even know if they're going to have to mobilize. They're not going to have to be mobilizing anybody. It's because so many people are joining. What, they have 370,000 people that volunteered to join the military. It's not like volunteering in Ukraine, where you've seen all the tapes. Strange that they don't have tapes like that in Russia, where they're running you down in the streets in gangs and they throw you in a van. Yes. Other news. In Australia, it was announced that if you want to get an implant, if you have to get some sort of a kidney or something like that, if you can afford it, or who knows what, then if you want any kind of implant like that, you have to be fully vaccinated. So they're still pushing all this stuff. COVID shots and things like that. And of course they're doing that in all sorts of things. They're doing it in the States too. A lot of time you have to be vaccinated. A lot of countries. Also, this is some of the most important things I should say, but there's not a lot to report about it. It's just some incidences that happened, and this is it's kind of it's a warning. The aircraft carrier Roosevelt left its base 2 days ago. I think it was San Diego, and they didn't say where it's going. It just left. Carrier group as well. And a day before that, the aircraft carrier Abraham Lincoln also left its base, going who knows where. So, what does that tell you? Looks like they're looking for something big. Something big is going to happen, people, or maybe it's already on its way. It's just going to be expanding. The Belarusian foreign minister, the foreign minister of this country, he said the world is moving into the abyss of mutually assured destruction. And he said this must be stopped. I also saw some article. It was just kind of interesting. It was a correlation of what's going on right now in Israel and correlating what happened in history. They said, they have Palestinians in concentration camps, and now, with these tunnels underneath trying to get to Hamas, they want to use, there's at least a proposal to use, poisonous gas. So it kind of sounds familiar. Somebody was saying, it sounds very familiar. Concentration camps, poisonous gas. We've heard that before, haven't we? Didn't that happen somewhere in Europe at one time? But with this buildup of military anyway, it's not just the United States, that it's sending a lot of things. It's also the UK, Germany, France, and others, and they're flooding Israel with weapons. It's like strange that they were running out. They don't have any more for Ukraine, but now they're coming up with a whole bunch of this stuff for Israel. They're sending planes, even helicopters. They're sending. I think France is sending a carrier. I didn't even really know that France has, but I think it's a helicopter carrier. So it's not like a aircraft carrier, but it's for helicopters, and they're sending that to Israel as well. It's incredible. Lots of ammunition. Again, no ass, no brammo. With the woke army, that's probably what they're going to change it to. It's not going to be the mistake anymore. If you say no brass, no ammo, that's going to be the mistake, because I don't know. They have this film footage of Israelis and Americans. It's like trans guys dancing for soldiers. Trans soldiers dancing for other soldiers. It's incredible. I can't imagine that ever happening when I was in the military. So, yes, anyway, with this new Speaker of the House, it looks like they're really going to try to not send 60 billion to Ukraine. Let's see if that works out. Maybe they'll find some other way, but they're still going to be sending money all the time anyhow. I think there's maybe a certain amount that old Joey can send anytime. You know, they're going to find some workaround, and a lot of time they're sending money anyway. We don't even know about it. So, and the first battalion of defectors, Ukrainian defectors, have now joined the Russian military. So now former Ukrainians that either surrendered, maybe they didn't even want to go anyway. Of course, they were forced into service, a lot of them. So now they're trained, ready to go, and they are also going to the front line to fight against the Nazis. So these are actual Ukrainians fighting against Ukrainians that are forced into service as well as Nazis. So I wouldn't look at them as being any kind of traitors. And this is called, I guess, the Bogdan Kaminsky. Kamelinski. Kamelnitsky unit. So that's gonna be something. And I guess these guys wanted to fight. They're not forced into that. They wanted to go against this. So obviously these are probably people that were forced into service, run down on the streets. So anyway, well, that's about all I have to say for today, people. And who knows when something's going to really break out here in Israel. It's you see, Israel keeps threatening that they're going to invade Gaza. You know, a massive invasion. I don't even know that they need to. They had a little tank invasion, I guess. I think it was yesterday, into the northern parts, and they're bombing the thing like there's no tomorrow. So why do they even really need to do much more than that? I don't know. Well, hopefully it'll all stop soon, but because they've really destroyed the place already. Mass destruction. See the pictures, In any case, that's about, I don't know, that's about all they should be doing. So, anyway, I thank you all for joining me, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye.